we have a species gap. And I'm not joking with you, it's for real. I wear the watch, my children don't wear any watch because they find it univariate. And I find it very difficult. I mean, I can't understand why I should not wear a watch and they cannot understand why they should wear one. I walk into a room and I see my son playing some silly game because in our time there was this game called Atari. I don't know if you're familiar with it. We used to have these computers and this ball would kind of like ping pong go to the other side and you have to move the bat through those up and down arrows to hit it. And they do some silly thing with their thumbs and going around and he's yelling into ether. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm playing. And I said, with whom are you playing? There's no one in this room. And he was playing this game with someone from Denmark. From Denmark. I didn't know that there was a country at his age. At his age, I didn't even know that there was a country called Denmark. Only my friend from HSN College knew it. I went to divisional public school and they didn't tell us. They told us there's Model Town and Guldberg and Sharma. They never told us there was a Denmark. But my son plays this video game with a kid from Denmark. How he plays, how he communicates, and he yells and screams in an empty room with like two little pods on his ear without wearing a watch because he is embedded into a digital world where you don't need to wear jewelry to know what time it is. Species, two different species altogether. Why am I framing this? Why am I talking about species gap? Kids who are entering your school right now, I'm not talking about kids who are entering school. I'm talking about kids who are entering your college program, your real life educational programs. They're going to retire in 2065 to 2070. We don't know what 2025 is going to look like. When I try to tell my children that there were no cell phones, they laugh. They laugh. My son is 22 years old, my daughter is 20 some odd years old, and I have a 14-year-old who plays with Danes. And they cannot imagine a world in which there were no cell phones. How could there be a world, the possibility of a world in which there were no cell phones? That's what they laugh. Honest to God, it's not in their imagination to imagine. It's not in their imagination to imagine a world in where there were no cell phones. Interesting, isn't it? Because I remember that clunky black telephone. You had to move it down, and most people had them locked. And you had to learn this act of tapping it to call whoever you want to call. I'm not going to get into it, but you know, my friend Zeddy knows exactly how to dial with a dialogue. And we all learned those arts.
The Edgesonians.
They didn't have to. They didn't have to. The phones were not locked. So, but really, and I'm reminded of how many of you, I mean, some of you are kind of my age, most of you are younger. But you must remember Star Trek, if I may indulge.
The Spock.
Yeah, the Spock. And what do you remember from Star Trek? What do you remember from Star Trek?
He used to have a cell phone.
Yes, and the cell phone called it was called transponder. I
And
think.
they used to energize something.
Energize. Scott, what was it? Beam me, Scott. Beam me, Scott. What else do you remember? Aliens, right? And that big place where there was a screen.
Spaceship.
What was it called? What was it called? The screen was, there was a platform. The platform was called something, where you stood in front of the enemy and you spoke.
It was the deck.
The deck. And you spoke with that enemy and you told him, and you turned it off when you wanted to, like angry girlfriends do sometimes, you know, and wives, I meant. Apologies. Wife, I meant. Wives. and you turn them off and all that kind of stuff. And there was this little machine where you press the button and coffee came down. And it's amazing. It's amazing. And I remember, I didn't know English very well. Most of the things about me are learned things. There's nothing natural or original about me. So I didn't know English, like many of the things that I don't know or I didn't know. And I learned it. And at that point in time, I did not know English. And we used to run for Star Trek And we used to stand like this in awe. In awe, we just frozen. We would look at those things. It was magic. It was magic. And that magic became reality while the program was still going on. Second or the third series of Star Trek was going on, and we started to have cell phones. And Mir Shakilur Rahman Saab worked in Lahore, if you remember, in his metallic blue-colored Mercedes, parked his car right where all the ladies of Lahore could see him, and pull out that cell phone with a servant carrying a bag which had the apparatus, and you had that handle. So it became a reality, and the Star Trek was still going on. And that holodeck, that deck or whatever it is, where you stood and you spoke with the enemy, you carry in your hand. I don't know what different programs you use, because my children use very different programs from the ones that I use. But I'm using WhatsApp, and when I want to have secret communication, I use the other Signal. And both I understand are broken, but it doesn't matter. And both speak, just like that deck where you stood and you look into the eyes of your enemy and you turned it off. It became a reality. These things became reality. In Spock, I understand, if I remember correctly, was a hybrid between humans and Vulcans or something else. Spock was Dolly the sheep. We started to articulate, we started to express human monoclonal antibodies in the ovary lines of rats and mice and guinea pigs, right when Star Trek was still going on. Everything in Star Trek, that transponder, that little thing that you press the button and coffee came out, differentiated and create a new organ, a new liver, a new heart, a new brain, a new eye. So there is almost the basis of reconstruction, they've already panned out. They're already panning out. In the lab petri dish, the tapeworm is living 6 to 7 times its natural life through manipulations, genetic manipulations. At the rate at which technology gets commercialized, why would my daughter, not myself, but my daughter who's now 20, why would she not live for 300 years? I mean, you can also ask the question, why should she live for 300 years? Is it worthy? And I'm open to that question, but now all I'm presenting to you is the scientific foundation of what is already happening. Engineered humans, the cyborgs, are going to be the robots. Your children are going to be robots. The engineered man, the engineered woman is going to be the robot. It's not going to be an exoskeleton person who's been implanted with human faculties and programs. No, no, no. You're going to be programmed to be that robot. You're going to be the cyborg. And you're going to fight. The cyborg is going to have the fight. And the fight is that of science. When do you become human? When do you become less human? That is the future for which you're training people. That is the future for which you're preparing the next generation. That is the future that we cannot conceive right now, but there was a professor who was writing, and the chalk fell from his hand. He said, "Damn gravity." Then he bent down, and he picked the chalk up, and he looked at the class, and he said, "But you know what? Gravity doesn't care." So my friends, gravity is not going to care, with you or without you. This chalk is falling. You've let go of it, and it's falling, with you or without you. Now the whole idea of a school, the whole idea of a college is to prepare you for that gravitational force. To help you understand the principle of thrust, so that when basically gravity takes you down, the thrust takes you up. And you fly more elegantly, like F-16s and like these planes, which have understood the principle of thrust, and they fly more elegantly like an eagle. This university, college program is that flight for the younger children. And you have to prepare these people for that flight. Now, I would submit to you that our programs, our educational system, our universities, nothing prepares us for that future. And why is it that it doesn't prepare us for that future? And I would say there are many things, but one of them is the contradiction of what I just said. What we've assumed the world to be is linear. And the world is anything I've just proven but linear. Future is anything but the continuity of the present. In this non-linearity, what would the job market that you're talking about look like?
If it's not going to be welding, as Musharraf said, perhaps rightly, what is it going to be? I'm saying what you've just projected may well be the welding of the future. But what I'm also saying is that the welding would be required. What I'm also saying is that this whole idea of a uniform educational system where you're structured to do a few things and move forward in a linear manner is not the way the future is going to go. I mean, in that future, I'm reminded of a little story that I saw on the net, and it was about this boy who was saying that, when I was in college, they said, what do you do? And he said, I'm a fireman. And I said, what did you want to be when you were young? And he said, I wanted to be a fireman. And he said, when you're young in the United States, and it's true, all of you, 100% of the class wants to be a fireman. I don't know what romance they have with firemen, but everyone wants to be a fireman. And he said, when I went to college, my teacher condescendingly, in high school, my teacher condescendingly said, no, you need to go to a college to self-actualize yourself, to express yourself, to be the man that you are, or be the woman that you are. You need to go to college and then to the university and then find the job and then do the nano and bio and cogno and all of these things. And he became a fireman instead. And he said, recently, I met my teacher again, and he said he was in a car wreck. He and his wife died, and I was there, and I basically, through welding, cut the car, pulled them out, gave them resuscitation, and saved their life. And I hope that they have a little bit more respect for me now than they have in the class. So I guess at any point in time, the world is not going to be filled with the biotechs and the nanotechs. And this is the contradiction, the polarity that I wanted to bring forth. That in that world of biotech, and in that world of nanotech, and in that world of 300 years of life, you're still going to be a fireman, there's still going to be a technically trained welder, or whatever it is, that all that comprises life. Because life is not unidimensional, like my son said. It's unidimensional. It's univariate. Life is not univariate. We have a view of college, we have a view of education, and that view of education is the professorial education. It's basically a linear view, where you basically are in school, and then in college, and then in university, and then perhaps through 2 training programs, and then a job, and then growing old, and that's not how it is. This diverse universe has all kinds of people. There'll still be people working on agriculture, there'll still be people doing welding, there'll still be people doing technology, there'll still be people doing all kinds of stuff. And the challenge is to prepare a productive workforce with all of the people who want to be whoever the hell they want to be. Allow them to be that person. Let them express themselves. Let them express their passions, what I call the truth of their self. And it may not be what we conceive it to be. It may be entirely different. And the second thing which is pertinent to you, to your college program, is what I call not just the diversity argument, diversity of or plurality of existence argument, but the argument of linearity. Those days are gone. There are MOOCs available online and need no certification. And Microsoft is teaching you for skills that are world class by people who are world class, and they're giving those programs to you for free. They're throwing it at you. And that is another chalk that is falling. These degrees at some point in time, or certificates at some point in time, may not be worth the weight of the paper on which they're printed. It may all become competence-based. And the competence may be negotiated in the marketplace that you called virtual marketplace, where people are throwing free education at you, where people are throwing free skills at you, and you'll have to negotiate with all of that freedom and free. And people may not move linearly. People may leave high school and come back. And they may work for 7 years and come back. So this learning is not going to be a linear kind of I do this and then I do this and I do this and then I graduate thing. This may be an ongoing thing. I need to retool myself now. I'm not equipped for what I do now. I was trained for a different purpose. Perhaps a learning institute like this, which could retool me as I go along, re-equip me, or allow me to articulate what my true competencies and my true passions are, would be worthwhile in my life. I'm getting old now, but earlier on it could have helped me so much more. I've changed my career 3-4 times and I talk a little bit about it. But every time I changed my career, I needed help. And I sought help. I may not have sought help in a formal manner by attending these courses, but what I did was exactly attend these courses in real life. I made all kinds of mistakes in making those transitions. And you're going to, by God, make all of those mistakes, but hopefully different ones, because some of the base mistakes they're going to train you for. But if you feel that after going through this training you'll be equipped, damn, you're wrong. You'll have to learn and relearn and relearn and relearn. And then pass away, hopefully still learning. So I'm saying, in essence, that the learning institutions or the teaching institutions, number one, have to be non-linear. I've seen hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people who live sterile and miserable lives, doing what they ought to do, what they need to do to live a good life. But I tell you, the matters of heart, I and Shahid Afridi probably started to play cricket at the same time. But only one of us became Shahid Afridi. Because it didn't just take the skill. It took 115 degrees and the passion to basically take a ball and make a go at it, or hold a bat and make a go at it, and not get it and continue to make a go at it. And you cannot possibly do it if you're not passionate about it. You cannot possibly do it. And if you can possibly, or you possibly do it, like all of our uncles tell के मेरे ज़माने में हम तो पैदल चल के जाओ यार पैदल चल के ज़रूर जाया करते थे और वो ज़माना गुज़र चुका है मगर असल बात ये है कि why would you want to live a miserable life? Why would you want to live a miserable life that doesn't articulate you in your essence, in your spirit? Why would you live that? Why would you look at the marketplace to live your life? Is a question that I leave with you. Did Steve Jobs do it? Did basically, what is the guy, the Microsoft guy? Bill Gates do that? Who's done that? Which remarkable man has looked at the marketplace to live his life? So it's not your destiny to look at the marketplace. And it's not the school's job to align you with the marketplace. That happens because you have the capacity, because you have the capabilities. And those capabilities, the higher order learning skills, are fungible. And therefore, my friends, my message to you is that drive it by passion. Drive it by passion. Only through passion you can self-articulate yourself. And the job of a college, or the course for that matter, is to make sure that they give you the environment in which you can become the mighty oak. I leave you with what I call the 3 gifts that I got from my dad. I rarely, if ever, I've spoken about them once, and I'm talking about them again today. When I was very young, I got very derailed. And, but because I was doing all of these, really stupid things, I was really scared of my dad. And I learned the art of listening to him and lying to him and ending up doing what I wanted to do, but never say no to him. So whatever he said, our communication was he spoke, I listened. There was complete dialogue, free flow of information, all sides. That's how we were. And one time he came home and I was in my room, and I was, I think, in the first year or the second year, and he walked in and he said, we started to talk about something. And he said 2 or 3 things, and he realized after a while that everything that he said, I agreed with. Everything, anything he said, yes, bilkul theek, absolutely. So he realized, what I was doing. So he was about to leave, he turned around and he said, I want you to remember one thing. And I looked at him in awe and I said, Gee. And he said, every idiot's hero is his father.
you'd never come across a man who's with modest intellectual capability who would not talk about his dad or his dad's dad and say that's where all greatness basically stops. And in essence, what he told me was that if I am the outer limits of your imagination and your opinion and your critique and your analysis, then shame on me, not shame on you. And I think that gave me immense freedom to become who I am. I, that day, turned the corner, the first corner that I turned in life. The second corner that I turned in life was this linearity thing. He wanted me to become a doctor. I had no bone in me which was physician, you know. And at the end, based upon the merits at that time, I could either go to the dental school or the pharmacy school. And my dad said, go to the pharmacy school. He was a businessman. He said, go to the pharmacy school. Oh God, you're so incompetent. But go to pharmacy school and we'll set up a pharmaceutical small company. And it's a बड़ा अच्छा काम है, पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं, कोई पंसारी नहीं है, तुम्हें ये नहीं करना पड़ेगा, वो नहीं करना पड़ेगा. You deal with the doctors, you deal with the pharmacists, you deal with all the educated people. So life would be good and you would be on your own. But this was his way of rejecting me. Because in this linear world, you're a doctor or nothing, and I fell in the category of nothing. So, 4 years from hence, when I finished my degree. For 1 year, I just floundered. I didn't do a thing. And one day he said, "तो उस्ताद क्या program है? काफी नहीं हो गए, 1 साल से घूम रहे हो." तो मैंने वही रिपीट कर दिया कि जी मेरा ख्याल है एक pharmaceutical company लगा लेते because पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं. I repeated what he said verbatim because I knew what he wanted to hear. I perfected that art. And he said he gave me the second gift. When he said, okay, and he said कि वो मेरे फलां दोस्त हैं, मैं उनको फ़ोन करता हूँ, तुम उधर चले जाया करो 6-8 महीने के बाद पहले देख लो कैसे होता है, and then we'll set something up. And then he told me something very cliched in a way, but very interesting. And he said, you know, once you join the rat race, even if you win, you're still a rat. Even if you win it, you're still a rat. And that is when I decided not to stay in Pakistan, and I left. Because that was not in my heart. I didn't know what was in my heart. By God, I did not know. And I stayed in education, all of these doctor or fala degrees, because I was useless. I had no drive, I had no idea. The easiest thing for me was college, so I continued to go through college. I got masters, MBA, PhD, postdoc, teaching, and it just won't do the trick. But I continued to do it because I did not know where my heart was, because I had not even learned to listen to my heart. It took me enormous difficulty to begin to learn to listen to my heart. And that was the second gift that I got, that, you know, once you join the rat race, which is what I'm cautioning you against, if you win it, you still got that. And if that's the life you want to live, God bless. And the last gift that he gave me was when he passed away. I was all over the place, I was doing consulting, I was working across 3 continents and 5 countries. I used to live in planes and hotels, and I had no idea where my life was going. And I loved it. I used to say, and to date I say this, that I'm surprised by the obscene amounts of money that these people give me for doing what I would do for free. I would pay to do, for which they give me obscene amounts of money. I would have paid to do the kind of work that I did. And I was surprised at those morons who would pay me for that. But that is how life should be lived. No. You should do what you would pay to do, not basically what you get paid to do. That is not life. That's miserable. Where you wait for the weekend and for the day to end. How much more miserable can that life be? And when I was accidentally here, he had an accident, he had had injury, and he went into coma, and then he passed away. And I was doing the burial, and my uncles were there. I was the oldest son, so they asked me to lower him into the ground. I'm not comfortable doing this kind of stuff, but I did that. And when I got out, the last gift that he gave me was that day, because I looked down upon him. I saw him wrapped in a coffin. They asked me to basically throw like a fistful of dust or whatever it's called. And I looked down, and it occurred to me that the only thing that he took that day with him was his life. It didn't matter in that moment if his son was a senator or a janitor. It did not matter if he left behind $1 billion or if he was a pauper. The only thing that he took with him was his life. That's it. And I shuddered at the thought that what if he lived a life that he did not want to live because of us, because of my mom, because of society, because of whatever it was, whatever and howsoever the success was defined. God damn it. All of a sudden it occurred to me. That's it. The only thing that you guys, you probably don't see it now, the only thing that you're going to take with you is your life. And what a shame if you live one that you did not want to live. Thank you very much.